Making headlines this hour, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz and First Lady Madam Sajda Mohammed attends the National Day 1447 flag ceremony. Attorney General Ahmad Usham emphasizes that the Maldivian government is committed to promoting the rights of people with disabilities across all national strategies. And TradeNet Maldives Corporation Limited reveals the initiative to digitize public services provided by the local council has made significant progress with agreements made with as many as 9 councils to date. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Ilham Naim. Before looking into news in detail, I would like to wish all our viewers a very happy National Day. Now looking into news in detail, President Dr. Mohammad Muiz and First Lady Madam Sajda Mohammed attends the National Day 1447 flag ceremony. This special function held at Republic Square commenced at 6 o'clock. The President and First Lady were accompanied by Vice President Hussein Mohammad Latif, his spouse Aishat Afrin Mohammed, and other senior government officials. Upon their arrival, they were warmly welcomed by the Minister of Defence Mohammad Ghassan Maumoon and the Minister of Divahi Language, Culture and Heritage Adam Nasir Ibrahim. Also in attendance were the Chief Justice, Cabinet Ministers and ambassadors to the Maldives, senior government officials and school students. The ceremony featured hoisting the national flag, followed by a special prayer underscoring the significance of the occasion. The event concluded with a performance of the Maldives national anthem by the Maldives National Defence Force MNDF military band. National Day, observed annually on the 1st of Rabiul Awwal, commemorates the heroic efforts of Al-Sultan Al-Qazi Muhammad Taqur Khan Al-Azam in liberating the Maldives from Portuguese rule. The day served as a reminder of the resilience and sacrifices that have shaped the nation's independence. Attorney General Ahmad Usham emphasizes that the Maldivian government is committed to promoting the rights of peoples with disabilities across all national strategies. He makes the remarks during his speech at the review of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, CRPD. The Maldives acceded to the convention on 5th April in 2010. In 2018, the country submitted its initial report to the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities for review and participated in the review session. The initial report submitted by the Maldives covered implementation efforts undertaken by the Maldives from 2010 to 2018 T22, to which the Maldives provided its replies in April 2023. The review was conducted across 2 inter-RPD. In his opening statement at the review session, Attorney General Ahmad Usham underscored that the rights of persons with disabilities are rights inherent to human dignity and demand equal opportunity, full participation, and the dismantling of every barrier that limits potential. He further highlighted that the Maldives has adopted an integrated approach to policy making, one that ensures that disability is no longer treated in isolation but integrated into all major national strategies. The Maldivian delegation was led by Attorney General Usham and included senior officials from the Attorney General's Office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Social and Family Development, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Education. TradeNet Maldives Corporation Limited reveals that initiative to digitize public services provided by local councils has made significant progress with agreements made with as many as 9 councils to date. The incumbent government has launched a wide-reaching digital overhaul named Maldives 2.0, designed as a multi-institutional effort to reform state operations through technology. TradeNet, which is spearheading the initiative, is working to connect government agencies with its OneGov online platform, designed to provide a one-stop shop for all government agencies. TradeNet Managing Director Saida Umar told the Parliamentary State-Owned Enterprises SOE Committee that the company last year had initiated efforts to bring local councils under the OneGov umbrella. She revealed as part of the efforts, agreements have been signed with 9 councils, adding that work is now underway to streamline the services provided by the councils and connect them to the system. According to Saida, 40 more councils have expressed interest to incorporate services through the OneGov portal. TradeNet aims to complete the initiative and digitize all councils by 2027, she said, assuring that the state-owned firms has the capacity to execute the initiative with a further room to expand its capacity if needed. The comprehensive digital transformation efforts aimed at modernizing governance, reducing bureaucratic inefficiencies, and bolstering economic growth. Over the next 3 years, officials plan to integrate digital tools that will accelerate public service delivery, improve transparency, and curb corruption. The opportunity opens for Maldivian businesses to participate in the 22nd China International Agricultural Trade Fair held from 17th to 19th October in Tianjin, China. The Ministry of Economic Development and Trade said the Chinese government has extended this invitation, noting that it is a valuable platform to promote and market Maldivian agricultural and fish products. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs of China will cover booth fees and construction costs of the first 8 Maldivian businesses to register free of charge. Interested businesses are requested to complete the application form and email it to international@trade.gov.mv before 2 o'clock on a Thursday, 28th August. The China International Agricultural Trade Fair attracts agricultural, fisheries, import and wholesale businesses from China and other countries. The event features a variety of activities designed to foster business relationships and opportunities among participants. The Ministry of Education announces the introduction of A-level programs in 5 additional islands beginning in the upcoming academic year, aiming to meet a growing demand from students seeking to continue their studies within their home communities. The initiative marks a significant step in expanding access to higher secondary education across the country.
Plans for the new programs are currently in development. The decision follows a year of strong academic performance by students in island schools, particularly in their O-level examinations. Dr. News's Rajami of the program. The ministry has yet to release the names of the 5 schools selected for the expansion, ensuring that the programs can be maintained effectively over time. The ministry has revised its admission policy for higher secondary education. Under the updated criteria, students who have passed only 3 or 4 subjects in their O-level examinations will now be eligible to enroll in A-level programs. This adjustment represents a departure from previous requirements that may have limited students' ability to continue their education. The ministry has stated that the revised policy is expected to create new opportunities for students to pursue their preferred fields of study and progress toward their career goals.
The Darawandhu Health Center in Baitol officially commences dialysis services, marking a pivotal development in the government's effort to decentralize specialized healthcare. The facility is inaugurated by Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim and is expected to ease the burden on patients who have long traveled to Male for essential kidney treatment. The launch reflects a central objective of President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu's administration, improving access to medical services for residents of the outer islands. For many, the journey to the capital has posed significant logistical and financial challenges. With 2 dialysis beds now operational and an internal medicine specialist stationed at the center, the Darawandhu unit is positioned to deliver consistent, localized care. This expansion brings dialysis services to a majority of the country's regions. Yet 4 atolls, Alif Tal, Wav, Fafu and Dalu remain without such facilities. Dialysis is a life-sustaining treatment for patients with end-stage kidney disease when the organs can no longer effectively filter waste from the blood. The procedure removes toxins, excess fluids and metabolic waste through a machine, with sessions typically lasting 4 hours and required 2 to 3 times per week. Regular access is essential, making proximity to treatment centers a matter of both convenience and survival. The introduction of dialysis in Dharwandhu is part of a broader initiative to reinforce the national healthcare system. President Moises' government has outlined plans to ensure the availability of medicines at affordable prices, restructure the National Health Insurance Program, ASANDA, and implement legislative reforms aimed at strengthening regulatory oversight. The state-owned Maldives Industrial Fisheries Company, MIFCO, reports a pronounced increase in operational throughput and financial disbursements to local fishermen, indicative of a strengthening trajectory within one of the country's primary economic sectors.
Recent data issued by MIFCO confirmed that 234 vessels supplied fish during the latest reporting period, representing a 41.8% rise compared to the 165 vessels recorded the previous week. This expansion in supply was mirrored by a corresponding increase in payments to fishermen, which totaled $673,386.13, up 55% from the $434,558.73 disbursed 1 week earlier. Among the reporting days, Thursday registered the highest volume of activity. On that date, 45 vessels delivered their catch to MIFCO, resulting in a cumulative payout of $180,956.88. The company's internal analysis identified this as the most commercially productive day of the week. The observed growth in fisheries operations aligns with the strategic priorities outlined by President Dr. Mohamed Muizzu, under whose administration the sector has been designated a cornerstone of national development. In support of this agenda, the Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources has introduced a targeted training initiative aimed at fostering youth participation and facilitating entry into the fishing profession. According to ministry sources, the program is structured to cultivate interest among young Maldivians while equipping them with the technical competencies required for sustained engagement in the industry. At present, 5 individuals under the age of 24, none of whom are formally registered as fishermen, have also been selected to participate in the pilot phase. Instruction under the initiative encompasses both theoretical and practical components, with a particular emphasis on pole and line techniques. Participants are assigned to leading skipjack and pole and line vessels within the national fleet, where they receive direct operational exposure under the supervision of captains recognized for their professional expertise.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. would take a 10% stake in Intel under a deal with the struggling chipmaker that converts government grants into an equity share, that the latest extraordinary intervention by the White House in corporate America.
The deal puts Trump on better terms with Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan after the president recently said the CEO should step down due to conflicts of interest. It will ensure that the chipmaker will receive about $10 billion in funds for building or expanding factories in the U.S. Under the agreement, the U.S. will purchase a 9.9% stake in Intel for $8.9 billion or $20.47 per share, which represents a discount of about $4 from Intel's closing share price of $24.80. The purchase of the 433.3 million Intel shares will be made with funding from the $5.7 billion in unpaid grants from the Biden-era CHIPS Act and $3.2 billion awarded to Intel for the Secure Enclave program, also awarded under Trump's predecessor, Democratic President Joe Biden.
India's foreign minister says that trade negotiations with the US are still going on, but there are lines that New Delhi needs to defend.
Indian goods face additional U.S. tariffs of up to 50%, among the highest imposed by Washington due to its increased purchases of Russian oil. A 25% tariff has already come into effect, while the remaining 25% is set to be enforced from August 27th.
No, look, I mean, negotiations are still going on in the sense that nobody said the negotiations are off. I mean, and people do talk to each other. I mean, it's not like there's a kutti there. So look, there is a what happens is we have red lines in the negotiations. We have to be clear as to red lines by definition are lines to be maintained and defended. Keeping that in mind, see what we get. And frankly, where we are concerned, the red lines are primarily the interests of our farmers and to some extent of our small producers.
On additional penalty for buying Russian oil, Jaishankar said, quote, "The same arguments which have been used to target India have not been applied to the largest oil importer, which is China, and the largest LNG importer, which is the European Union," unquote. Jaishankar added that there was no communication from the current U.S. administration on not buying Russian oil until the tariffs were publicly announced. Goods trade between the United States and India, the world's biggest and fifth largest economies, respectively, was worth about $87 billion US dollars in the last fiscal year, according to Indian government estimates.
Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung agrees to closer security and economic ties ahead of Lee's planned summit with US President Donald Trump. On his first official visit to Japan since taking office in June, Lee met Ishiba at the premier's residence in Tokyo to discuss bilateral ties between the East Asia neighbors, including closer security coordination with the United States under a trilateral pact signed by their predecessors. The leaders agreed to resume shuttle diplomacy, expand exchanges such as working holiday programs, and set up cooperation in defense, economic security, artificial intelligence, and other areas. They also pledged closer coordination against North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. The South Korean government last week expressed deep disappointment and regret after Japanese officials visited a shrine in Tokyo to Japan's war dead that many Koreans see as a symbol of Japan's wartime aggression. In Tokyo, however, Lee affirmed support for closer relations with Japan, as he did when he met Ishiba for the first time in June on the sidelines of a Group of 7 summit in Canada. Despite their differences, the two U.S. allies rely heavily on Washington to counter China's growing regional influence. Together, they host around 80,000 U.S. troops, dozens of American warships, and hundreds of military aircraft. In Washington, Lee and Trump are expected to discuss security concerns including China, North Korea, and Seoul's financial contribution for U.S. forces stationed in South Korea, something that a U.S. leader has repeatedly pressed into increase. Japan and South Korea also share common ground on trade, with both agreeing to 15% tariffs on U.S. imports of their goods after Trump had threatened steeper duties. Veteran Hungarian Martin Fucsovics struggles with the finish line in sight, but recovers to defeat Dutchman Botic van de Schanschelp 6-3, 7-6 to capture the title at the ATP Tour's Winston-Salem Open. The 33-year-old led 6-3, 5-1 and had a championship point on his record. From comic bookstores to coffee shops in Dubai, the kandura, the traditional loose-fitting garment worn by men across the United Arab Emirates, maintains its cultural significance while adapting to contemporary life.
The full-length robe is occasionally paired with a head covering called a ghutra. In Abu Dhabi, private collector Hossam Jabr has a museum showcasing historical variations of the garment, including the more formal bisht, a ceremonial cloak worn over the khandura on special occasions. Jabr said, quote, "The khandura in general is made of cotton material, which makes it suitable for the climate and the desert environment. It is simple, easy to wear, and